First, I saw the curved shape of the conference room, stretching out like the wingspan of a gull. Then I noticed the roof shining with sun-clad metal tiles resembling scales. Getting out of the car, I realized the structure stood entirely on sand. And suddenly, I knew that this was no ordinary building. Located in Virginia Beach, the Brock Environmental Center is a part of a growing number of structures that uses the concept of sustainable design. Today's sustainable architecture works to conserve resources like water, electricity, and money, while bringing people together in spaces where beauty and functionality are intertwined. But what problems face modern architecture? And how can sustainable design work to meet these challenges? Can we quantify the benefits of using sustainable design in our everyday life? In this speech, I will be answering these three questions while explaining both the benefits of sustainability and how it can impact your life. Architecture is in crisis, announced architect Nicholas Duval, and it's not hard to see why. The Whole Building Design Guide states within the federal sector alone, it is estimated that expenditures for water and sewer services reach up to $1 billion annually. The Environmental Protection Agency reports that indoor concentrations of some pollutants are often 2 to 5 times higher than typical outdoor concentrations. The Human Spaces Organization surveyed office workers and found that an alarming 47% report having no natural light in their office space. Now combine this with the fact that according to the New York Times, a third of the population reports having no interaction whatsoever with the people who live nearby. It's clear that modern architecture faces major economic, environmental, and social challenges. Fortunately, designers, architects, and engineers are working towards solving these problems, but they're using a different philosophy: sustainable design. The General Services Administration defines sustainable design as structures that conserve both water and electricity, while being mindful of their environment and the health and well-being of the residents. Pragmatically, sustainable design can be implemented by simply making sure the site of construction is easily walkable and commutable, or as advanced as maximizing the amount of natural sunlight in the building through the design of its structure. Although at first glance the additional effort required to build sustainably might appear to be burdensome, a closer observation of the resulting advantages reveals this perception to be misleading. A study by the firm Davis Langdon found no significant difference between the average cost of a sustainably designed building and other new construction within the same category. Furthermore, once constructed, maintenance and utilities are far less expensive. In an article entitled Building the Greenway, the Harvard Business Review reported on PNC's sustainably designed First Site Center, pointing out that it is an environmentally and economically sustainable workplace, and it costs 20% less per square foot to operate than its comparably sized standard sister building in Philadelphia. The article went on to say that now PNC has constructed several of more than 200 planned Green Bank branches. The average construction time was cut by 45 days, and the costs were the same or lower. Examples like PNC's First Site Center prove that sustainable architecture is not only a way to conserve resources like water and electricity, it also makes good business sense. Another advantage to designing sustainably is improved employee and resident retention. A statistic from the Human Spaces Global found that a third of office workers say that the design of an office would impact their decision to work for a company. The Harvard Business Review notes that at the Gensheim Center, 58% of employees report having greater productivity, while employee sick time was cut by 5% when compared to Gensheim's other Massachusetts facilities. Because of these benefits, businesses often choose to certify their building's efficiency. One of the most common certifications is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, or LEED certification, which works through a point system encouraging businesses to build as sustainably as possible. One example of a LEED certified establishment is, of course, the Brock Environmental Center, which is also the office space of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Their goal was to build as sustainably as possible, which they accomplished through the Living Building Challenges guidelines, as listed on livingfuture.org. These guidelines require the following. 1. Living buildings must be regenerative spaces, connecting their occupants to light, air, food, nature, and community. 2, they must be self-sufficient and remain within the resource limits of their site. Living buildings produce more energy than they use and collect and treat all water on site. And finally, living buildings must also be both healthy and beautiful. Today, only 15 buildings in the world have fully met these guidelines, which is partially due to the Challenge's infamous Red List, which bans the use of materials that either pollute the environment, accumulate up to dangerous concentrations, or harm construction and factory workers. To meet the first specification, the designers of the Brock Environmental Center talked to manufacturers, who could sometimes produce these materials without the Red List items. Alternatively, recycled or reclaimed materials were used, keeping valuable resources out of the landfill. For example, the counter in the foyer was formerly a part of an old pickle barrel, while the flooring was previously a local school's old gym floor. Producing 83% more energy than it uses, the Brock Environmental Center also meets the second criterion. As the Chesapeake Bay Foundation's website reports, its solar panels and residential wind turbines allow the center to sell back excess electricity to the grid, making its total monthly electric bill $17.19 for the hookup fee. Additionally, the center also works to conserve water by recycling rainfall for use as drinking water and using water-saving appliances, reducing its water usage to 90% less than that of a typical office building of its size. And finally, the Brock Environmental Center is also both healthy and beautiful, thanks to its massive windows, natural lighting, and a view of the bay. The Brock Environmental Center provides a healthy workspace to all of its residents. It's also beautiful. The design itself is based off the surrounding environment, reflecting both the colors and creatures of the marsh, and features artwork reflecting Chesapeake Bay's habitat and Chesapeake Bay's history. Ultimately, I think the Brock Environmental Center provides an excellent example of what homes, businesses, churches, and office buildings could one day be like, but today often aren't. So why is this? Why has sustainable design's impact been limited? Well, despite its numerous benefits, some architects and developers feel that sustainable design doesn't matter. One of the reasons for this mindset is lack of training and education. In fact, the American Institute of Architects, the AIA, announced that AIA members will no longer need to fulfill sustainable design requirements in order to complete their AIA continuing education. Another reason architects decide not to design sustainably is technical issues. Architect Eric Corey-Freed commented that adding a green roof adds weight, and you may need to beef up the strength of your roof in order to support this extra weight. Certain green finishes may need to be special ordered and may have longer delivery times. Additionally, it's important to note that clients have a big say in major design decisions. If they don't know the benefits of sustainable design, then it's unlikely that their building will be designed sustainably. Nevertheless, many architects and developers are choosing to design sustainably because I think they realize that though we impact buildings, buildings can also greatly impact us. After personally visiting many sustainably designed buildings, I think what amazes me the most is how purpose, beauty, and functionality are all intertwined. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I would one day like to become an architect myself. But chances are you probably aren't an architect or an architect wannabe. So the question remains, how can sustainable design impact your life? In order to answer this question, I'd like to leave you with 3 suggestions. The first is to visit these buildings for yourself and see how truly amazing they are. The second is to share this information that you've learned with others and continue to educate yourself about this very important issue. And finally, my third suggestion is to conserve resources in your own life. For example, on nice days, turn off the AC and open up the windows, or buy special outlet adapters that conserve excess electricity used by appliances when they're turned off. By looking for ways to reduce our use of resources like water and electricity, and others like time or money. Just imagine the impact that we could have on our families, our communities, and our world.